Warp Core Breach, Episode 19. I'm stuffed.
Captain, enemy ships decloaking off our port bow.
They're charging weapons.
Shields up. Red alert.
They're firing!
Containment failure detected. Warp core breach imminent.
Welcome to Warp Core Breach, Episode 19. On this episode, Nick and David play ping-pong. The faction report goes into a mirror darkly. Natasha mediates disputes between the Aldara and the Toh'Kaht. Griffin delivers a nanovirus. Bane of Borg recaps Temporal Cold War OP1. Then Dan previews Temporal Cold War OP2. And finally, we all talk about storing these wonderful ships.
Warning. Warp core breach detected.
I'm David Montgomery, and here's my co-host, the matter to my antimatter.
I'm Nick Norris, and I do matter.
Oh, of course you matter, Nick. It's not about that. It's about storage.
Hey, and so I don't get lost in the intermix somewhere.
Yes, but intermixing matter and antimatter is such a wonderful thing in controlled amounts.
That's what the dilithium's for.
Exactly. It's how we make everything go boom. Not kaboom, just boom. So we go fast.
Boom, 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 boom. Doodle up.
Speaking of things going boom, that pretty much sums up my Temporal Cold War OP1. For more evidence of that, videos are on the shipyard. Yeah. So, have you had any more fortune in playing Star Trek lately?
Well, I did play some interesting games last week. I went with Regent's flagship versus a Regent's flagship, and we each had other different ships. But it was such a tense game that my friends playing next to us played 2 games in the span and still finished half hour or so before we finished our game. It was so tense. It was so down to the wire. It was just, whoa. And we played the custom event cards to sort of shake things up. We each drew a card each round, so we each had effects going on. Between like black holes and Q intervention and crew being disabled and everything else that was going on, it was a frenzy. And right at the very end, I eked out a victory. It was down to whoever shot next and did that 1 or 2 damage.
Sounds very cool.
Yeah. Thank you, Stephen, for a rousing game.
Yeah, I gotta look more into that custom event deck. That's something that's going to spice up a lot of your standard jousts and just give you something more to mess with.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to look more into that. Maybe do a main topic on that someday.
Indeed. It's something that expands the game. It adds a new layer to it.
Yeah, I think anytime you get a setup where people have to continuously adapt to unforeseen circumstances, you're making better players.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for anything that does that.
Yeah, and just a quick little shout out to the fellow who created this custom event deck. I believe I'm saying it correctly, Robert Enalt. It's German, so maybe I got it right, maybe I got it wrong, but he's done a great job. They're easily accessible to print from PDF. RobertAehnelt.de and STA events. Search that on Google and you should be able to find it yourself. Try it out. Let us know how you did.
Cool. And we'll have a link to that in the show notes as well.
Yeah, it's back with my Star Trek CCG days. My dad and I were looking for a way to spice it up a little bit. So we took the Dilemma deck and just turned it into an event pile instead of dishing it out from mission to mission. And that ended up being what Decipher did with their 2nd edition. So it was kind of neat.
Yeah. You planned ahead.
That we did. And we didn't have Berlingoff Rasmussen to give us the heads up either.
Good old time travelers. As you folks will see, we have tons and tons of contributors today, and that is a wonderful thing. So Nick and I are not actually doing a main topic. We're just kind of playing ping pong here, talking about the little things that we've had going on, and 2 weeks since we've done an episode. So, just kind of hanging out, shooting the breeze, and doing whatever we kind of feel like right now.
Having a little fun with our friends.
I did pick up a Borg sphere recently
Oh.
from a fellow who was selling off big chunks of his collection. And the only reason I picked up a Borg sphere was because it came with LED lights and a switch.
Nice.
So I have some LED tactical cubes, but I have to open the bottom up and press buttons to turn on the LEDs. This is one, all I got to do is turn a switch, and it just lights
Beautiful.
up. And it's great, and it looks really good.
Video didn't happen.
Oh, I'll get a video up at some point. I'll probably do a video with that and the tactical cubes, just so you can see the different patterns.
Toss it up on the shipyard.
Yeah. Just because, that kind of stuff is fun.
Mm-hmm.
This is the kind of stuff, does it make any difference in a tournament or in a game whatsoever? No. Just like repainted ships make no difference whatsoever.
It adds to the funky factor.
Exactly. It's fun. It's that old adage of painted ships shoot better, fly faster, whatever you want it to be. They just look fun on the board.
Yeah.
And when you have that, it makes it feel like it's yours.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment that it feels like it's yours, it's a good thing. Anybody can show up and play this game, and it's a wonderful thing. But when you add those custom touches, those unique flares, and you say, hey, I did this thing, and to me it's cool, that's what's meaningful. I remember seeing like the pink warbird or the like the rainbow bird of prey, stuff like that. Maybe it's not your personal style.
A Hello Kitty fleet?
Exactly. I would never choose that for myself. But I also sit there and I go, hey, that's really cool. And if you show up to a tournament with that, I'm going to want to take a picture of that. And I'm going to want to say, hey, how'd you do that?
You applaud them for it, for their originality, their creativity, and their gusto.
Yeah, I want to know the story behind why you did it, how you did it, all of that. And that's just fun.
Oh, yeah.
And I know we're not a mini painting game, unlike Warhammer or Malifaux or any of those other games.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, take some pride in your own ships, make it your own, and paint is easy to change.
That it is. Just getting back to the lighting bit for a sec. Years ago, I bought the Hallmark Christmas ornament of the Pterodactyls, and my dad was just digging around through storage looking for my Laserdisc player. Mention more about that later, but he found the Hallmark Pterodactyls, and I was thinking, I might modify that up to run off a battery or something and throw that on the table, because it's got some pretty interesting scale going on there.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, I have the Hallmark Defiant and Enterprise E.
Nice.
And I still actually know where both of those are, so I enjoy those. I bring those out for Christmas every once in a while. Defiant's way too big for Attack Wing, but the E would actually work just about right.
Oh, yeah?
Maybe it's a little long, but if I put it on a large base, it would work. Super sovereign.
Well, yeah, like the Hallmark scale for the Pterodactyls is like almost double, like volume-wise, to the Eagle Moss. So it's, 4 times the size of Attack Wing or something? 3 to 4 times?
Got it.
So it's significant size.
So large base.
Oh, yeah.
Which one could argue is what should have happened from the beginning.
Agreed.
Speaking of large base, I saw that Will Sanchez has been putting together some thoughts on his own ideas for 2.0, and I don't want to steal his thunder, but one of the things that he's brought up is moving some ships to large bases.
And some to smaller bases, too.
But more so with the large bases. Things like the Pterodactyls, the Jem'Hadar battleship, and the battle cruiser, I believe. If not, definitely the bigger
Yeah.
of the two. Even things probably like the Krenim time ship could stand to go there.
Exactly.
I would argue for the Regent's flagship to go as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been in talks with him just to acquire a few more large bases and some large base to small base converter pegs, because they're things not that you can run them in a tournament, but things you could run in a campaign setting or something like that. And I think that that's a good route to take. I would love to see them do some stuff with large bases again.
Yeah.
And I think we need it. The Scimitar needs to be on a large base as well.
Absolutely.
So, thoughts there. An avenue to explore, and I look forward to seeing more of what he does with that. And small base is interesting as well, but I have not looked into the details of that whatsoever. An interesting potential, especially for your homebrew games. At some point you kind of go, why not?
True. But I'm really pleased with the input that Will and a number of the other people are putting in to sort of reimagine the game, because it's not something that you can complain and say, I don't like this or I don't like that and blah blah blah. It's another thing to actually put creativity and effort into coming up with solutions.
Right. Plus, it gives you an appreciation for any kind of design work and going, so that's what it takes to actually create a game system.
Yeah, and it actually gets you some understanding of what they go through to put out this game itself. Yeah, and folks, a little personal bragging announcement. I recently ordered a 3D printer, so once that arrives and I get the hang of that, I'll definitely be tinkering some, be talking with people like Will Sanchez and Jonathan Bruce and the other members of the community that do design work in 3D and or have their own printers, and just see what kind of interesting and fun things that we can come up with.
So if Nick finds himself buried in plastic, you'll know what happened.
Well, better those pellets than something else. Yeah, we don't want the owls leaving pellets around.
Yes. Or anything bigger. Then you start to ask too many questions.
No questions. Just answers. We have ways of making you talk. Call Madrid, anyone? I see 4 lights!
Alright, we've officially hit the silly point. It's time to turn it over to contributors before we ramble for too much longer.
This is Bane of Borg. I will be giving you the most recent tournament updates. Resistance is futile.
Hello, Warp Core Breach listeners. This is Bane of Borg. I'm going to do a recap of Shockwave, the Temporal Cold War OP event number 1. The setup for this OP event is simply a planet right in the middle of the map. How this works is, anytime a ship fires within range 2 of the planet, a mission token goes on the planet, and that player who puts the mission token on the planet rolls an attack die. Once they get 3 mission tokens on the planet, if they roll attack dice and they end up with 3 hits or criticals, the atmosphere of the planet explodes, kills everybody, all the miners on this planet, and any ship within range 1 gets 2 damage, and any ship within range 2 gets 1 damage. There's an interesting little thing about the ending part for a bonus. At the end of the game, a player whose opponent's ship was the closest to the ship planet when it explodes gains plus 20 fleet points. So if your opponent's closer when the planet goes off, you get the 20 fleet points. So pretty much this played out to be basically a scenario where you're playing on one side of the planet or the other. It's almost a joust on side of the planet. Now you can use the planet to go around it for some defense or diversion. We ended up basically ignoring the planet pretty much, and from what I've listened to and other people playing in other events, they did the same thing, picked a side, went at it. Now some of the guys split their fleets and had part of their fleets battle one side and the other. We had just, by the time the game timed out or the battles were over, the planet really didn't get involved. Now we did have the planets go off, and it really was not real impactful. I like this OP because it didn't mess with your ships or your builds or your captain's abilities or anything like that, as the Q tended to do. So this was a simple sort of navigate around a planet type OP. Of course, it was the booster blinds. We ended up with I finished second in this one. I ran a Fed and a Borg build, and I had the Vulcan booster. I lost to a Fed build with the Federation booster. He was all Fed, and he actually won the thing. We also saw a Fed with a Klingon booster, a Klingon with a bioship booster, a Borg with a Ferengi booster, and he wasn't happy. He ended up finishing rather dismally. And then a Mirror with a Mirror booster. And we had 6 people in today's OP, with a couple of our players still out of town for holidays. But as it was, the OP, it was fun. The planet and the whole thing with the exploding atmosphere was rather minimal. It was nice, I think, in all 3 cases I got the extra 20 points, but I did lose to the Fed with the Federation booster. A lot of these with boosters go as often go, if your fleets are pretty evenly matched, is what booster you end up pulling. There's some decent boosters in this OP event, but there's some that are not as good, as I would say. None of us got the Bajoran booster. I think we were all happy about that. So I think that's pretty much the overview of this OP event. Like I said, it's just almost like playing a regular duel with a planet in the middle of the map. So this is Bane of Borg. I hope this was helpful. Thank you.
Good evening, and welcome to the Faction Report, the segment that brings you the inside scoop on all the factions. We'll show you how they really work, expose their weaknesses, find innovative combinations, and help you make them work better. And now here's your host, the man who is not Picard, David Walton.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Faction Report. This week talking about the Mirror Universe. Now, the Mirror Universe faction was not one that was in the game right from the very start. It was one that came on a little bit later than all of the others. And with a lot of factions that came into the game a little bit later than others, like Vulcans and Bajorans, it did appear, at least at first, that the Mirror Universe might be one of those weak second string factions. In reality, though, the Mirror Universe has got a lot going for it. The first thing that I'm going to talk about in today's episode of the Faction Report is multiple attacks. Now, there are a lot of resources in the game, and I mean that in the general sense of the word resource rather than specifically the resources you get at OP play. There are a lot of resources in the game that are limited. Actions, for example, are a limited resource. In general, you only have access to 1 action per ship per turn. There are some cards that mitigate that, and increasingly there seem to be a lot of cards within a lot of different factions that mitigate that. The other really limited, scarce resource that this game has is attacking. In a vast majority of cases, ships can only attack 1 target once per turn. There are a lot of upgrades and a lot of abilities in factions that allow you to attack multiple ships once per turn, be they the Borg allowing you to target more than 1 ship with full assault, or the Klingons with their elite talent once more into the breach allowing you to attack twice. What the Mirror Universe faction does particularly well is they allow you to attack more than once per turn, and they even allow you access to activation phase attacking rather than combat phase attacking. Now, activation phase attacking is particularly useful because if you attack someone in the activation phase, they don't get access to some of the defensive bonuses that they would in the combat phase, like Cloak, or the ability to spend tokens like Battle Stations or Evade. So, Mirror Universe, multiple attacks. The first place we start is with elite talents. There are, at a cursory glance, 3 elite talents that allow you to attack more than once. The first of those is Strafing Run. Quite simple, it just allows you to do an extra attack at the cost of your action, meaning that your ship is probably not going to have access to all of the modifiers, but since it's happening in the activation phase rather than in the combat phase, you wouldn't be able to spend tokens to modify that attack anyway. So, Strafing Run, perhaps the weakest of the options available to Mirror Universe for multiple attacking. The second is We Won't Go Back. I'm not going to shout that because it's been done before, but We Won't Go Back means that if your opponent decides to interfere with your ship for any reason, you get to fire back at them. Again, situational, perhaps not the best way. One of the things I really like, and one of the elite talents I really, really rate, and usually features in every single one of the Mirror Universe fleets that I run, is Rebellion. Now, Rebellion is not an action, it is a discard, and it allows you, when you're defending against a ship with a higher hull value than your own, to fire back. It's really useful from the point of view that it allows you to attack more than once, and it reduces your opponent's attacks coming into your ship by 2. Now that works quite well with Julian Bashir. Bashir forces a ship to attack your ship at -2 dice. When combined with Rebellion, that means they're rolling 4 fewer dice than they would have previously, and you get to fire back. Another fantastic little option that you have is Fire All Weapons. Now, Fire All Weapons doesn't allow you to attack the same ship more than once, but it does allow you to fire secondary weapons that are, in this case, Fire All Weapons and primary weapons in the same turn. It's quite expensive, doesn't have great action economy, but it does allow you to attack more than once. Finally, almost the best way of getting multiple attacks for Mirror Universe is Admiral Worf. A long time he was everyone's favourite admiral because he allows a ship with a hull value of 3 or fewer to attack in the activation phase at the cost of an auxiliary power token. This is a great way of ensuring that you can really deal damage to those ships that are cloaked, that are behind all kinds of modifiers to their defense dice, because you're not going to attack them in the combat phase, you're going to attack them in other phases too. So, multiple attacks. That's the first thing that really makes the Mirror Universe unique. It's been great talking to you again. I'm not Picard.
And here's Natasha with Dude, It's Just a Game, a perspective on Star Trek Attack Wing from someone who isn't completely obsessed. For best success in your booster tournaments, Dude, It's Just a Game recommends bringing a scale so that you can weigh your boosters, because the bioship weighs the most, and with absolute certainty, the Bajorans...
Wait a second. A scale? Isn't that cheating? And seriously, it's just a game.
Oh, hi Natasha. I didn't see you there.
Uh-huh.
You know what? It's only cheating if you get caught.
Okay, but why would you do that? Why do you need to weigh them? Just take the ship you're given. It's gonna be okay.
It's not gonna be okay. Plus, it's a matter of life and death.
It's not a matter of life and death. It's just...
You know what? Tell that to the Bajorans manning the interceptor when it gets obliterated.
Okay, you know what? How about I find you a referral to a psychiatrist, and then we just talk about a couple of cards. How about that?
I'll take you up on the couple of cards.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so continuing our series on the boosters, we are halfway through.
Or at least we will be after this episode.
Well, you know.
So we actually thought it would be fun if we took 2 of the boosters that were pitted against each other in the quarterfinals and talked about a good card from one and a bad card from the other.
Right, so the Aldara and the Toh'Kaht, which is the Dominion and Mirror ships. So we're going to talk about maybe what we think helped the Aldara win and maybe what helped the Toh'Kaht lose.
Oh, besides your poor flying?
Okay, we're not going to talk about that, okay? But you know what? It wasn't just me, because I flew the Toh'Kaht in our most recent tournament, and it died first every time. And it wasn't due to my flying.
I'm still hearing more excuses.
So forget the psychiatrist, you're going to need a coroner. Got it.
Yeah, you know. Hey. So yeah, the Aldara. We actually want to talk about the named ship ability. And what is that?
Right. Well, I mean, the Aldara overall for a reinforcement booster is really very excellent, but the ability kind of pushes it over the top. So the way that it works is that if any ship that is in your forward firing arc and in range 1 to 3 moves before you've moved, then you get to change your maneuver. It's once per round, so you can't just infinitely change it. It gives you a lot of power in being able not to bump and not to fly into people's firing arcs.
For complete evidence of why this is good, go check out the Aldara versus the Bioship.
You did that several times against the Bioship.
Yeah, it was basically the reason the Aldara even had a chance against the Bioship. We've waxed poetically about it for a long time, so we're not going to spend tons of time here. I think the reality is that anytime you get to adjust your maneuver, it's very powerful. And in the booster, you've only got a skill 5 captain, which isn't the most amazing thing in the world. And you could potentially be going first, in which case this ability sucks.
Right, but on the other hand, it's got a 180 firing arc. So there's a lot of people that could be in your firing arc, and they may not even know it.
Yeah, so once you're able to take this into the constructed world, you throw a skill 7, skill 8 captain on it, and now you're almost always going to get somebody to trigger on it. So I love what the Aldara has. I think it's a great named ability, and something that if you're not excited about it, if you're not looking at it, I definitely think that you should be.
So don't be sad when you get the Aldara. Be excited. Not as excited as a Bioship, but really close second. And don't weigh it. Please don't weigh it. So now for the not so good, the Toh'Kaht, which was wiped out in one very sad round.
By the Aldara.
By the Aldara. I think my main problem with the Toh'Kaht overall, and we're going to talk about a specific card in a minute, is that there's no synergy. The cards are just kind of willy-nilly, put in the pack. They don't seem to work well with each other, and they don't seem to really have much of a point for the most part.
Yeah. I know I didn't fly it on camera, but I did fly it for fun, and it does support what Natasha's saying. There's no cohesion there.
Luckily, it's not like the Bajorans. You don't have to take everything. So we're going to go ahead and do you a really big favor. We're going to tell you what card you absolutely do not take if you pull the Toh'Kaht. The Thalmarite Explosive. So it's a weapon, and it looks nice at first. It's 6 dice, 1 to 2 range, 5 cost. It's, pretty good. It's a discard. But then it becomes extremely situational. If the defending ship is not cloaked and has no active shields, and you have at least 1 uncancelled crit, then you get to choose the crit.
From a choice of 2.
Sure. Okay. That's decent. Not worth 5, but sure. And then it says, if this attack is fired at range 1 and hits, your ship suffers a damage. So now it's not range 1 to 2, it's range 2. And it's if they're not cloaked and has no active shields. I mean, ultimately, it's a range 2 weapon with 6 dice.
And it's already going on a Vorcha, which naturally has 5 attack dice. The saving grace to this card is that it's mirror faction. So if you run it on like an ISS Avenger that normally has 2 attack dice, it's actually a decent card. But on the Toh'Kaht or the generic Vorcha, it's not worth it at all.
Having to suffer a damage if it hits, I just don't find the benefits to outweigh that negative nearly enough.
Yeah, I agree. It's a risk, and choice of 2 crits is okay. I mean, they made a crew about that, so it's there, but I'm with you. It's not great.
I would love for someone to disagree with me and prove to me that the Toh'Kaht is an amazing ship if you can, build it and fly it correctly. So if you disagree and you like the Toh'Kaht, let us know. And then, I'll give you the number I just gave David for the psychiatrist.
Wait, I thought I was getting a number for a coroner.
Well, yeah, but also for a psychiatrist.
Oh. Okay.
So if you fly the Toh'Kaht, don't take the Thalmarite Explosive. You don't need it, and you have more cards than points available on the ship. So just throw it out. Just burn it. Don't burn it, but you know what I mean.
Use a thalmarite explosive on it?
Yes, that's exactly... No, don't do that, because then you'll get a damage. And you'll have to go to the hospital and be dead. Alright, so that's the 2 cards we're going to talk about today. Join in next week when I try to convince David to give up his obsession with the Lakota.
Never gonna happen. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down.
Hey, it's not the voice. We're not singing.
Don't care.
Oh boy. Alright, so I apologize for the impromptu concert there. But,
never gonna run around or desert you.
Alright, so we're gonna end this before he has any more concert aspirations. But we do want to thank everyone for listening, and we'll see you next week when we talk some more. But until then, remember...
that dude...
it's just a game.
Welcome to the Ready Room. My name's Daniel, and I'll be your host for this segment of the show. Now it's that time again to bring out the cards, lie them right in front of you, and come up with a strategy to the next Cold War OP2. Now the setup in Cold War OP2 is you place an objective token in the middle of the board and a stack of 12 mission tokens on the side of the board. The objective token is representing a small craft with only 1 hull and 0 to all the other stats. Your objective is simple: retrieve the small craft. Now you can attempt to recover the small craft any round after the first round. The ship that's attempting to recover the small craft has to have a tech slot in order to do so. When you're within range 1 of the small craft, you can take an action to target lock it. If there are more than 2 target locks on the small craft, it may be destroyed. For each target lock, you roll 1 attack die. On a crit result, the small craft is destroyed. At the end of each activation phase, if there's only 1 ship controlling the small craft, that ship takes a mission token from the pile and places it by their ship card. During the planning phase, that ship can choose to maintain its target lock and not move. It can still perform actions and attacks, however. There are 2 ways to lose your target lock. First, you can voluntarily lose it, or if your ship is hit by an opponent, the ship that was hit rolls 5 defense dice. The attacking ship rolls 5 attack dice. If the attacking ship rolls a number of battle station results equal or exceeding the number of battle stations rolled by the ship that was hit, the tractor beam, or target lock, is removed. Last but not least, retrieving the small craft. Now, if your ship is in control of the small craft and you have your mission token already, you can take an action to remove it from play and put it on your ship card. You're now considered to have the small ship aboard. Once it's retrieved, it's officially out of the play area. The objectives are the same as before, either destroying your opponent or retrieving the small craft. You gain plus 5 fleet points for every mission token that your ship's gained, and plus 20 fleet points if you retrieve the small craft. However, if your ship destroyed the small craft by rolling the crit, you get negative 10 fleet points as a penalty. Now this event has a lot of strategies you can make. For the strategies I came up with, it really favors these 3 factions: Romulan, Federation, and Mirror Universe. Why does it favor these factions? Well, you'll see in a moment. First up is Mirror Universe. Mirror Universe has many cards that allow it to have free or extra attacks, like Rebellion, Strafing Run, and Admiral Worf. Chances are there's going to be more than 1 person target locking the small craft. If you want to be the only one at the end of the activation phase to maintain that target lock and get that mission token, you're going to need cards to attempt to get rid of your opponent's target locks. So let's say you have a target lock and your opponent has a target lock on the small craft. That's why you have Admiral Worf or Strafing Run. You can attempt to shoot that ship, hit it, and if you hit it, that's when you do the whole evade dice, attack dice, and attempt to have that ship get rid of that target lock. That way, at the end of the activation phase, you just got plus 5 fleet points. The real key card here is Admiral Worf, because you could use him every turn. Strafing Run is a one-time use, but it will come in handy. Basically, this sets you up to be in control of that objective token, and next turn you can use Strafing Run or Admiral Worf to get rid of their target locks, Use your action to retrieve the small craft and get plus 20 fleet points. Next is the Romulans. Now the Romulans have a more brutal advantage. And yes, I'm talking about the one and only cloaked mines. If ships have to be within range 1 to attempt to control the small craft, if you get there before them, deploy your cloaked mines, you're going to do some damage to them just for trying to control it, or discourage them from controlling it and allowing you to control it. Romulans also have the Scimitar, which can do a nice 6 straight, get right up there, deploy those mines before the other ships get there, and it's just setting it up for you. Romulans also have Varel to negate attacks, so that way you don't have to worry about losing your target lock. Then you have Admiral Aldara Jarok, I probably pronounced that wrong, where you can take an action to remove a person's target lock if you're within range 1 of that ship, which that could come in handy. Last but not least, you have Interface Generator, where you can negate damage if you're cloak, and reduce everything to 1 hit. If you're not playing Faction Pure, you can add in a few other cards that can negate that 1 damage, and that way you're just not taking damage and have no risk of losing that target lock. Also, you can have other cards like Lure if you're not Faction Pure. This way you can have your opponent's ships forcefully go into the minefields. I could go on with lists with cloaked mines like the USS Dauntless, but I'll leave that for you to decide. And last but not least, the Federation. Now the Federation is good in this because of their action economy, like Jean-Luc Picard, Spock, and the new USS Hathaway. Now if your ship's target locked and you're within range 1, you can't move, you don't want to be a sitting duck. The Federation have the ability to add evade dice to their ships, get extra actions, and also get the firing arc that they need. Not to mention the cards that add shields to the ship to give it the durability it needs. These were the 3 factions that I saw fit for this event, and don't get me wrong, all the other factions have good chances too, it's just these 3 had nice, they were like made for this event. Now one thing I want you guys to know is that there's always counters to these strategies. If you're listening, you might just go with the how to counter cloaked mines rather than doing the cloaked mines. So you should always be prepped for people like that. My job is just to give you ideas to help you out in your fleet building. Now you have the ships, you have the cards, now make it so. I'll see you next month on To the Ready Room, where we talk about Cold War OP3. I hope you enjoyed.
Hi, this is Dave Griffin. Today we'll be talking about the mission Deliver the Nanovirus. This was recreating the Unimatrix Zero Voyager episode, and it came with Tactical Cube 138. The forces are 80 points on the Borg side, 1 ship, including 1 Borg tactical cube, with the self-destruct upgrade. On the Federation/other side is 100 points, including 1 Federation ship, with at least 1 crew upgrade and 1 other ship of another faction. Now, you could probably interpret the rules by saying a ship of any faction, including the Federation, but the rules get confusing if you do that, so use a ship of another faction. And the Borg start on the northwest corner, the Feds on the northeast corner, and the other ship on the southern edge, the normal southern edge entrance area. The special rules involve 3 special actions, although one of them is not an action. The first one is at range 1 to 2, the Federation ship, and only the Federation ship, can disable a captain or any number of crew upgrades and place disable tokens or away team tokens, if you have them, on the card. Now, you can't re-enable them while they're on the Borg cube. While they're away, if your captain is gone, you have a captain skill of 1, and you can't use fleet captain resources or elite upgrades or anything like that the captain's responsible for. The second action is at range 1 to 2, you can remove all the away team tokens. Now notice you don't have to lower shields for this, so you don't at least have to worry about that. Now the third thing that happens isn't really an action. On the end phase, you roll 1 attack dice for each captain or crew upgrade you've got on the Borg cube that you have away team or disable markers on the cards. And if you roll a hit or a crit on any of those dice, you only need 1, then you can put a mission token on the Borg cube, and that signals that you've planted the virus. Now, note that the Borg can target an away team member with assimilation tubules because the card is still on your ship. And if he does that, then you have one less dice to roll, maybe even in that first end phase. So the objectives on the Federation side are to deliver the nanovirus, return their crew, and then exit the board. It's not clear what happens if the Borg assimilate one of your crew and then you retrieve the rest of them and then exit the board. Do you still win? I would say you do. It's a little bit vague in the rules. Now the Borg just have to either destroy the Federation player's ships, or they have to damage just the Fed ship itself, not both, with the self-destruct sequence upgrade after the virus is delivered. So let's talk a little bit about rules qualifications. Let's note first that the cube has been crippled by the Borg nerf since this scenario has been created. Now that does make things harder on the Borg. Frankly, if you want the Borg to have a good chance, I would consider giving it the Indy-Fed fleet captain, because that at least gives it more options for maneuvering. You probably could give the Borg their original rules. That's probably what the scenario intends. Note also that although it can be difficult reading the card, both of the Fed actions for delivering the crew to the Borg cube and getting them back require you to be within range 1 to 2. And another thing you should probably consider is if the Federation takes upgrades that allow it to disappear from where it is and reappear anywhere on the board, that's probably going to make it awful hard for the Borg to win. You might want to disallow those. Tactics. Now, the Borg theoretically can win either by damaging the ship with a self-destruct or destroying the opposing ships. But they can prevent the Fed from winning merely by destroying the Fed ship. So the Borg cube is an awful big ship, and it really depends on how many rounds it can pound on the Federation ship. If you take a fast Federation ship like the Prometheus, it's awful hard to stop it from getting off the board. So to some sense, you want to play for the draw first by trying to destroy the Prometheus. I don't think you're going to be able to hurt the Prometheus with the self-destruct or any other really fast ship like a Sovereign, because I think it's just too fast. I think it's going to get out of the way. So I would go for trying to destroy the ships, and I would go for the draw first by destroying the Fed ship. There are a couple of things that will help. Use Borg assimilation tubules, and the reason why is because you can reduce the number of attack dice your enemy is going to roll at the end phase to see whether he's planted the virus. If he only brings the single crew and captain, there's a good chance if you disable or if you steal that crew that they're going to only be rolling one dice, and there's no telling how many rounds they're going to be rolling. If they take more than 3 rounds, they're probably dead. You've probably destroyed the Federation ship, and then it's just a matter of whether you can destroy the other one. If not, at least you have a draw. If so, if you can destroy both of them, then you have potentially the chance to win. On the Federation side, definitely use a fast ship. Fast and defensive is what's important. Though, if you hit the Borg ship so that you've disabled most of its hull when it explodes, I'm pretty sure a self-destruct sequence will go off with less of a bang, and that means fewer attack dice. Now, the rules are also a little bit unclear as to what happens if you plant the virus and then destroy the Borg cube afterward, possibly before they self-destruct, or even just if they don't do a self-destruct. I think the answer to that should be that if you destroy the Borg cube after planting the virus, you should be fine. So I would say the Federation still wins if they destroy the Borg cube. So by all means, shoot the Borg cube as hard as you can, and at the very least, if he uses a self-destruct, it will go off for a smaller blast. Okay, that's about it. I think it's a pretty well-balanced scenario. I think it matters a great deal what kind of bills both players bring and what kind of maneuvering they bring and how good a pilot they are. And it's also a bit of the luck of the draw, because depending on how much crew you bring, I'd bring a lot if I was the Fed. as how many dice you can roll at the end phase and how many turns you will be without your captain. That's going to be pretty bad. So if you're without your captain for 1 turn, then you can probably win. If you're without your captain for 3 or 4 turns, the Borg is probably going to win. So there's an element of luck, but there's also an element of skill. And depending on how defensive you make your ship, it might really make the difference between which side wins. I would give this 3.5 stars and say it's definitely worth playing. Thanks.
And now it's time for the Warp Core Breach Question of the Week, where we pose your questions to all of the contributors in the hopes that someone will get it right. This week's question of the week: how do you store your massive collection?
Well, I don't know about you, David, but I've got quite the creative hodgepodge of containers and boxes and such that I use for my collection.
Well, I think I'm at the point I'm not even sure I could tell you where every single thing actually is. Which is probably a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. I know where the bulk of things are. I know where everything important is. I'll say that.
Oh, I'm far too OCD to let that happen.
Well, the only things I don't know where they are some of my duplicate unique cards, or more like triplicates.
Yep, you and me both. At least as far as having them.
And then like a bunch of the bonus tokens, like a pile of shields and disable and auxiliary and critical hit tokens. Like
I filled a small box with my extras.
Did you mail it to somebody and then never let it go?
Oh, if somebody wants them, I'm more than happy to send them to you for the cost of the shipping.
Yeah, it's kind of like they're out there somewhere.
Yeah. I did actually send base plates and pegs and some other things to various people in our community.
Fun stuff.
Mm-hmm. So they're not going to waste. Not entirely.
Cool. So for me, I have 5 Plano 5231 cases. Those are the red ones with the white clear lids that have all the dividers in them. One box is purely Federation, another is Romulan and bioships, another is Dominion and Bajoran. Yeah, that's for irony.
So you're telling me they're not color coordinated?
No. They're kind of what fits.
Mm-hmm.
What goes together? What has enough room? Yeah, I don't even know what's all in what at this point. I used to have a good system worked out, and then I got too many Romulan Dideridixes. So they kind of necessitated almost their own box. So I've got all the ships and dials in the bottom, and then I've got all the base plates and captains in the top with some tokens up there, and all the special tokens like the use with blockade reminder and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've got a bead box with the dice and a pile of all the action tokens. That's kind of like my tournament box. And then I've got a starter box that I use for the maneuver templates, and I have 2 sets, one for myself, one for Natasha. And that's how cards get put in for tournaments and get moved around, and ships will get pulled out, bagged up, put in that. And then I've got an old Star Trek CCG deck box where I've got damage decks and my laser level and other stuff stored in that. So that's kind of the tournament to go stuff. And on top of that, I have a 5,000 card count Magic box. Well, most commonly used for Magic, but a 5,000 card count box that I store all the faction cards in. And that is actually sorted in faction initiative order.
Yep, that's what I do.
Starting with Q Continuum.
Because it matters, apparently.
You know, all 5 of them.
Yes, and they're non-existent ships.
Yeah. And so, like, the first 2 rows of that are all the faction cards. Row 3 is some resources and stuff like that, plus the Borg tactical cubes, because they don't fit in the Plano 5231s. My rightmost column in that magic box is all the ship movement cards, the resource cards that aren't big, oversized cards, and then missions, which is quite a large stack, and then all the duplicate uniques that I would actually use because Natasha and myself. So, like, things like Bohica and Denatra and Martok 8 and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, your common guys that are actually worth playing for both of us.
Yeah. The ones most likely to overlap when playing 2 players from the same collection.
Yes. So
very thoughtful.
All in all, like 7 pieces of stuff. Well, 9 technically, but I kind of count 5 Plano boxes, a magic card box, and then 3 things together that make up my tournament to go box.
That makes it work for you.
Yes, and then I have other stuff like all my Dominion War OP planets and stuff that's stored in a box somewhere, and then I've got duplicate prize ships for trading off in another box, and gaming mats off to the side, and a big mess.
I hear you. Yeah, for me, I used to have the Plano 1155, which is the 2-tier satchel. It's got the clear blue lid most commonly, but it has been available with different tints. It worked very well for me in my fledgling collection days, but I quickly outgrew it as more and more ships got released. It was able to handle virtually every ship except the tactical Borg cube until I cut one panel out, and it was able to fit just fine. Then I got a second tactical cube from the Riff Grand Prize, and then it kind of went out the window. So I recently switched up to the Plano 7771. That's 3 7s and a 1. It's big tackle box kind of thing. You open the front main panel, and you can have 4 smaller trays, like Plano trays, that are latched and lidded. Those ones are the 3701s. It comes with 4 of these when you buy it, and I actually pulled out 2 of those and replaced it with the Plano 4700, which is designed to work with the drawer system of the 7771. It's a 2-tier kit, so it takes up 2 slots, but the top of it is perfect for storing your base plate tokens, the ones with your arcs and your ship stats on it. It also, you can throw your attack and defense dice in them, some shields, time tokens, things like that. And I also found that the squadron fighter tokens fit well in the odd-shaped ones in the front corners. And the main reason why I switched to this kit, short of having 2 more of those 3701s, is that it has compartments in the bottom of it that can actually fit the larger ships that won't fit in the thinner trays. Ships like the Klingon Birds of Prey, the Dideridex, the Negvars, the ships that are just oddly shaped enough that they just don't quite work.
A scimitar.
The scimitar I actually managed to fit in the other trays. I did have to do a little bit of trimming, but it was more the thickness of the ships or the really odd shape of them. I'd have to do some creative carving otherwise, and I didn't want to go that far.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have the Vidian ship, the belt buckle, as we call it.
Don't get me started on that. Yeah, I actually had a guy in my group that used a 7771. It looked very spiffy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the thing I like about it as well is it's got a compartment on the right that I actually got some Flambeau little kits, and they handle all my Captain ID tokens, the tombstones, and all the other tokens, like the main ship action tokens, disables, the Admiral tokens, and the ability tokens, the markers for the abilities. And not everybody does use them, but I find I like them. Like if I get a +2 for something for attack dice, or you can't attack for this turn or whatever. I like to actually put them out. It's a good way to communicate with their player, and they see what's going on and they can play more smoothly without wondering, oh, I forgot you had that kind of thing, which sometimes can be to your advantage. And these are the Flambeau 6530s, and you can fit 3 of them side by side in this little compartment. It's great. And on top of that, when you open just the lid, it's like a 3-section lid, sorry. The front part of the very top, you can fit your movement templates in there. I've actually got a couple sets, so I can fit both of those in there, plus spots for my mine tokens and extra goodies. And then there's like the part where you'd have like your tackle on the right. It's a little lid that peers into the front side, and then I've actually got foam in there to place my larger ships, like my tactical cube, my Borg sphere, basically my big Borg ships. And the main compartment under the lid, I have another container that I got at the dollar store, and it's a perfect fit for all the base plates, damage cards, things like that. And I've got a little Ultra Pro binder. It's the one that's got 2x2 card pages built into it, and the elastic strap, and that's where I keep all my resources and reference cards. It's handy being a TO to just have one place where I can just get all of that immediately. And with the leftover space, I've got room for my laser level, my builds for that tournament, all sorts of different things. And for my cards, I also went to Magic, and I got the holiday kits, the holiday packs, and I've got my buddy Jason, who also plays Magic as well as Attack Wing. He buys the packs, I get the box, and it's perfect. It's 3 rows. 2 of these boxes is more than enough to handle my whole collection of cards at present, including a number of doubles. It allows me to sort them. They come with really handy plastic dividers that stick up above the cards, so it's easy to flip through, and it's just a great way to organize. And what I do is I've got such a large collection that being a TO, I bring everything so that new players can come and play. I actually have a foldable dolly. I put the 771 on the bottom, and I put a duffel bag with my cards and dials and everything else on top of that, and I wheel it down to the shop. So I can throw it in my trunk, wheel it up and down, and then break it down quite easily. And it folds up, tucks out of the way. It's brilliant.
Cool stuff. I like it.
So, some people might be wondering, well, where am I going to put my dials? They don't generally fit in a lot of the cases. Well, I found the Plano model 6324, and it's perfect. Like, I can fit a row of dials in each section. I can usually get about 9 or 10 in each little section, and there's 4 sections by 6 sections. And only 2 of them are obscured by where the handle would be. So, you've got quite a number of different spots to fill your dials. And, unless you've got a collection as big as mine, you're not going to come close to filling this. So you can always put ships or other things in here as well in the meantime. So it basically looks like a giant cookie box.
Like I said, I just store mine in the bottom of the bases with the rest of my ships. But even that's taking up a lot of room from the ships.
Exactly. And one thing that I want to mention to everyone out there that some of you already do is if you can pick up a reasonably sized container that's just large enough to take your tournament build for that day with you, something that can handle your movement templates, your damage cards, your ships, bases, dials, tokens, and your upgrades and everything, if you got something just small enough to carry only that, you're going to find you're going to have a lot easier time jumping in and playing and just being ready to go.
I will say, if all else fails, take a starter set, take the plastic insert out, or you could even leave it in, and you can fill that with your cards, your dice, your tokens, your ships, all that you need for your build, and it will work.
The downside to using the starter kit is it does have that cutout, so you have to leave that plastic insert in to keep things from falling out.
Well, that's if you turn it upside down. If your ships are just sitting there in that front well, yes, it's not perfect. It wouldn't be ideal for travel in a backpack or on the train or whatever, but if you lay it flat, it works.
Go to a craft store, you pick up the dollar sheet of foam, and you just cut it to size to fit that, and you've just blocked the hole, and you're good to go.
Yeah, that's it for us in terms of storage solutions. I hope our thoughts have been enlightening, and now let's toss it over to our contributors so you can hear what they have to say.
Hey guys, this is Daniel from To the Ready Room, and how I store my collection is very simple. I have all my cards organized in a big 4-inch binder. I have bead organizers to store my tokens. And lastly, I store all my ships in this small plastic case with a handle on it, and it has slots so I could fit all my ships and captain tokens and whatever else I need. One thing I'd suggest which makes things easy is that since each ship comes with 2 captain tokens of the same captain, is put one in storage and keep one with you in your main collection. This way you don't have like 1,000 more captain tokens than you really need. Top it off, everything fits in one of those army transport bags that they sell at your local gaming store. So yeah, that's how I organize my stuff.
Hi everyone, it's Toh'Kaht from the Faction Report, and how do I store my collection? I have my cards in binders. I have now 5 of those binders. They're organised according to cost and type. Then I have my ships in a toolbox. I think it was designed for different types of screws and nails, and that's what I use for my ships. That's grown over time. Used to be quite a small toolbox, and now it's a rather big toolbox. But yeah, that's how I store my food. Binders and a toolbox. Thanks for listening.
Hello, this is Steven Stott with Ready to Play Gaming down in Columbia, South Carolina. How do I store my stall stuff to play? Well, I have 3 boxes. Got them all from Home Depot, same type of box. They're 22-inch cantilever professional organizers. 2 tiered boxes. On the top side, you have 15 small containers with 3 fixed areas of storage, and then on the bottom, you have 12 large box containers. The bottom's great for putting your ships along with your cards and base plates in there for holding the ships, and any extra stuff you want to put there. On the top side, the center part there is perfect for putting your movement templates in there. You can put your damage deck cards there, as well as all the little small tokens that go in there, and that's where I keep my dials, as well as each of the ship cards, the small ship cards that you put in there. Like I said, I use 3 boxes. Each box has a couple of 2 or 3 different factions in it, because I use one where I play my favorite factions, and then I have the 2 other boxes. You know, as you collect these things, you get a lot of cards and ships. So anyway, that's what I do with mine. Hope you guys have a great day and all your dice rolls go hard hits or great evades. Take care and happy holidays.
Hello, Warp Core Breach listeners. This is Bane of Borg with episode 19, How Do I Store My Collection? First, I'll start off by telling you I'm a collector and I collect everything. I've got 1 or more of every ship, every booster, every prize that's out there in Star Trek Attack Wing. So, you know, little thing. Bear that in mind when I explain to you how I store my collection. The ships I store, I have a battle foam case, 13 by 13 by 16 inches. It's a blue one because I wanted the Federation feel. In it, I have 2 foam trays that are cut out for Star Trek Attack Wing ships, and 3 generic trays that are block forms. I store the ships, all but a few of the ships, in this thing. Then, at this point in the game, my collection's so big, I have 2 of the Plano red-white organizers. A lot of you have probably seen on Facebook that I store my tokens, captain's heads, rulers, movement dials, and I try to organize all that by faction. And I'm about to need a 3rd one, I think. Finally, I store my cards. I have 4, right now I have 4 3-inch, 3-ring binders. I have plastic sort of baseball card inserts. I store my cards in that. I store them by faction, organize them with white dividers between each faction. And I have a method I store. I think I go with ships, then captains, crew, and the different upgrades, tech and weapon, elite, that sort of thing. I have a way I do that. So at this point, I guess lastly, I do have 1 big plastic storage thing. I think you can, something for kitchen items or whatever. And that plastic thing, it's probably 8 inches tall by about 16 inches wide and about a foot deep. I store the big Borg cubes that are the retail pieces, and all the OP stuff from Dominion Wars up through the planets, all the participation prizes. I usually have those in bags or baggies. Some of the OP events, like the Tholian web kits and all those type of things, I store in that one big container. So that's how I store my Star Trek Attack Wing collection. It's like I said, I have one of everything and multiples of many things, and it takes up a lot of room. The game has lots of pieces, my daughter tells me. So that's it for this episode 19. BaneofBorg signing off. Thank you.
Hi, this is Dave Griffin. Today we're talking about storage solutions for Star Trek Attack Wing. What I use is a Plano 1374 4x-rack system tackle box. That thing goes for about $35, and you can even get the little engraver plate engraved with your name if you want to. It comes with 4 good-sized trays locked into the bottom of the tackle box, and on the top there's a fairly large open area. I use Ultra Pro binders and sleeve the cards and put them in there. It takes me 5 good-sized binders to haul just about everything around with me. I still can't carry absolutely everything, and I have a hand truck which put all of that on and then attach the hand truck to the tackle box with a flexible strap. So that's what I use to carry things around, and it's worked out very well for me. I went from one box to another there for a while, but I've been pretty stable on this solution.
Watermelon, watermelon, watermelon.
Watermelon, watermelon,
Pineapple,
watermelon.
Piccolo.
Pomegranate.
Watermelon, buffalo.
Pomegranate. Poughkeepsie. Mississippi. MISSISS, assimilate your ship.
Ooh. And on that crazy note, we're out of here.
Peace. Well, war. Star Trek Attack War. You can tell we've been at this a while, episode 19, when it gets to the point where we just don't care anymore. We're just here to have fun. Oh, the ion storms outside are frightful, and the spatial anomalies delightful.
Warp core breach
when your phaser charge's gone down low,
9,
make
8,
it so, make it so,
7,
make it so.
Shut
6,
up, Leslie.
5, 4,
This is Nick.
3,
And this is David.
2,
Ejecting the
1.
core.
Warp core ejected.
Warp Core Breach is produced by Nick Norris and David Montgomery, with additional content from our contributors. Our computer is voiced by Corinne Donnelly.
Warp Core Breach is not endorsed, sponsored, or affiliated with CBS Studios Incorporated or the Star Trek franchise. All Star Trek trademarks and logos are owned by CBS Studios Incorporated.
All sound files are used under Creative Commons 3.0 by attribution. For specifics, please visit our Facebook page by searching Warp Core Breach Podcast. If you want to contribute to the show, let us know on the Facebook page, or you can email us at warpcorebreachpodcast@gmail.com.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to close.
Can I recommend Stitches?